Hello, good evening students, hope you're doing good. My name is Badia MAHMOUDI and welcome to my channel. Today I decided to make this video as requested. But first of all, I would like to thank my teacher Mr. Utham Zabit for his infinite patience and confidence in me. So, our today's subject is about teaching sociolinguistic competence, and here we have planning of the presentation. We have the introduction, definition of concepts, definition of sociolinguistic competence, the strategies that teachers can use to promote sociolinguistic competence, and then we have conclusion. As we know, teachers cannot help wondering how students would do if they needed to communicate in a real social situation. This brief explanations explores more exactly the strategies that the teacher can use to develop his or her students' communicative competence. Here we have three concepts to define. We have teaching, we have sociolinguistic, and competence. We start with teaching. In broadest term, teaching is an act which assists learning in an individual. It involves the application of desired skills, techniques, and procedures which facilitate learning. According to progressive and humanist education, teaching is perceived as stimulating, directing, and guiding the learner and evaluating the learning outcome. We move to the second definition, which deals with sociolinguistics. It is the study of language in relation to social factors, including differences in region, class, occupational, dialect and gender, and bilingualism. It focuses on language and examines how social factors affect language. It can help us understand why we speak differently in various social contexts and help uncover the social relationships in a community. For example, you probably wouldn't speak the same to your boss at work as you would your friends, or speak to strangers as you would to your family. Sociolinguistics may also wonder whether women and men speak the same as each other, or why do people the same age or from the same social class or same ethnicity use similar language. Sociolinguistics attempts to explain all these questions and more. Ultimately, sociolinguistics is everywhere. Then the last definition is about competence. Competence is the ability to do something well. Let's move to the definition of sociolinguistic competence. It is the ability to communicate appropriately by using the right words, expressions towards specific topic in appropriate situation or context. For example, many English learners can do well in class but don't necessarily have sociolinguistic competency. For this, there are many ways in which teachers can promote the development of sociolinguistic competence in their students. An English student knows the basic grammar for his level and performs well in class exercises. Outside the class, however, the student often finds himself stuck as he does not know what to say or how to respond in specific situations. For instance, when the teacher asks him why he's not wearing the appropriate clothes for the class. So the student feels lost and can't explain that Bletch got on his gym clothes, so his parents will have to buy him a new set. This means the student needs to develop sociolinguistic competence. So let's explore those strategies. The strategies that teachers can use to promote sociolinguistic competence, which are mainly oriented to stimulating the real social context in which students are expected to communicate with others. The first strategy deals with making pragmatic features explicit. Pragmatic features are the different meanings that a word or a message implies. However, English students are not necessarily able to get the nuances of what is said or to interpret it correctly. For this reason, teachers should always be explicit with English students. For instance, student with his math teacher who asks him to take the math devices out. But he's confused because he doesn't understand devices in this context. When the teacher notes this, he asks him to take out his calculator and the timetable chart. Now student knows what to do, and teachers of any subject can help students to develop their sociolinguistic competency by being explicit in regard to what is expected. This is not only implies using specific instructions, but also checking that the student comprehends the meaning of written language around the classroom and school. And for instance, students ASL teacher asks, what does the exact sign mean? This way, students learn to pay attention to the meaning of messages and think through the most appropriate response they should give. Let's move to the second strategy, which deals with promoting oral and written discourse. English students need a lot of oral and writing practice. For example, creating activities that relate to specific contexts students can encounter in real-life situations can be advantageous in giving them this practice. For example, as a part of learning restaurant vocabulary and expressions, students ASL teacher assigns students the task to role-play the job of waiter and customer. This way, student and his peers get to enact how a real situation would develop in a real restaurant. So teachers should help his students integrate with native speakers and focus on practice rather than theory. Other examples of oral and writing activities that promote sociolinguistic competence are getting students to discuss personal experiences, reading and discussing the messages, dialogues, and so on. An important question has to be asked regarding to the examples that I have already given. It has been said that it does not matter how well a person knows language grammar if he or she does not know how it must be used for successful communication or how people use it in their native environment. It means specific context. Many scholars and linguists and researchers argue that interaction with native speakers might be a reliable tool that will help students understand the way language is used in a sociolinguistically successful manner. Experimenting with different situations and with a wide range of information might also help students devise means to use their sociolinguistic knowledge to fulfill the needs of the situation they are presented with. As a conclusion, it's important to note that learning a language includes learning everything behind the language and beyond the grammar. Thus, conversely, the gradual language acquisition and development transforms students into learners and modifiers of information that will inevitably gain knowledge other than linguistic form. Ultimately, language, the way it is used and how it transforms culture, is knowledge that transcends specific subject. So we finished, and hope you enjoyed today's video. See you next time. My best wishes.